Wait, wala bang Terebs, pasend naman ng feed ng screen share mo? This special edition of The Storyline, where the news becomes a story. I'm Midori Tachibana. The storylines this week. Inside the Senate standoff, how did the chaos unfold from the appearance of Senator Bato de la Rosa to the gunfire heard across the country? What did the standoff look like in the GSIS building? Huddling a fugitive, why did Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano stage a coup using Senator De La Rosa as tiebreaker? How did the Senate's protective custody measures override an arrest warrant by an international court? On our writer's notes, in the line of fire, the public applauded journalists for sticking to the story inside the Senate. But how much is too much for media personnel? Our panel is answering this in a moment. This special edition of The Storyline starts right now. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of The Storyline. Over the past week, we have seen chaos within the hallowed halls of the upper legislative chamber. Journalists to find out information on fugitive Senator Ronald de la Rosa's whereabouts within the Senate premises flashed our television and monitor screens. When gunshots echoed and media personnel began running for their lives, the whole country and the world witnessed it. Today's edition will dive deep into the happenings within the once hallowed halls, beginning with our first draft. The Senate has now become a shell of its former self after the events of May 13, 2026. The chaos begins during the afternoon on the side of the GSIS building, when General Manager Vic Veloso raises the red alert status and asks the National Bureau of Investigation to keep watch on their premises. When the Senate adjourns just before 6 p.m., Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa appealed to the public for support during an ambush interview with reporters. The Supreme Court was yet to issue a temporary restraining order at the time. By 6:17, NBI agents arrive at the GSIS main building escorted by its security personnel. At 6:57, Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Ablasca asked media to clear the second floor because they were going to quote-unquote arrest somebody. Ablasca never said who that person was. The Senate building goes on lockdown at 7:05, trapping journalists inside. The House of Representatives completes its transfer of the articles of impeachment to the Senate. 14 minutes later, more armed personnel from the Marines holding long firearms are seen on the second floor. At 7:39, reporters on the first floor hear drilling sounds from the other side of the building, which turns out to be done by members of the GSIS construction team to ensure security of all exit points within the Senate and the adjacent GSIS building. At 7:45, reporters on the second floor were not allowed to follow authorities who were there. However, they immediately bypassed that blockade to observe the men from a distance.
Oh my God! Oh my God! May nagpaputok! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Mayan,
Mayan,
magtago ka
mag-ingat
muna
kayo.
dyan.
Mag-ingat kayo, Mayan.
Tabi ka muna, Mayan.
Oh my God!
One shot, two shots. The gunshots sent people panicking. 6 more follow. All this was caught on national television when the flagship newscasts were airing. Just before the clock turned 8, media personnel were told to get out of the building. Shortly after, members of the Senate majority held Facebook Lives. In one of these, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano claims the Senate was under attack. Senate Secretary Mark Leandro Mendoza later claims people perceived to be from the NBI entered the Senate premises. However, on the GSIS building, NBI agents were just as confused.
Ayan, ayan. Base po sa mga ahente natin sa NBI, galing po sa ground floor ng Senate itong sunod-sunod na putok ng barel na naririnig po natin.
Kakamutukan na dito. May narinig. Tukan ng baril. Dito sa loob ng GSIS office.
Even as the gunshots rang from the GSIS side, the NBI agents told accompanying reporters to take cover. In an interview with ABS-CBN News, NBI Director Melvin Matibag says his agents were not involved in the alleged shootout. Furthermore, PNP Chief Jose Melencio Nartates said his men were also not involved with the gunfire. By 9 p.m., the Senate asked media to get out of the building. There, reporters ambushed Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla and Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano asked to hold a press conference. At 10:22, President Ferdinand Marcos denies any government involvement in a statement. Just before midnight, Remulla gives the senators the clear to leave the premises. However, one of De La Rosa's lawyers, Attorney Jimmy Bondok, says his client is still inside the building. A few hours later, in the wee hours of Thursday morning, Senator De La Rosa low-key leaves the Senate premises, accompanied by Senator Robin Padilla in a Toyota Fortuner owned by the latter. During a press conference later that day, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano claims the Senate was under attack.
Nag-warning shot ka, pinutukan kita pabalik, is it not an attack? Sorry but I don't think there's any question. The Senate is under attack, was under attack.
In a separate press conference with Nartates and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro, however, Matibag once again refutes Cayetano's claim.
I'm sure na wala po tayong tao sa Senate premises, sa Senate building po. Pero nag-request po si GM Vic Biloso na magpadala po ng NBI.
Authorities also arrested volunteer driver Ramil Masaya, aka Mel Oragon, who was unarmed at the time and was only tasked to retrieve a bag inside the Senate. Oragon tested positive for gunpowder residue after being pinned down right where the Osaa fired their guns. Matibag also adds Oragon was arrested without a warrant inside the GSIS premises, not the Senate. On a press conference dated May 19, Mulya denounced Mawa Plasca's claims of the Senate being under attack.
For the record, all evidence points that there was no attack on the Senate.
Plasca also admitted in an interview that he fired the first warning shot, but reiterates the videos of the incident that have been released are edited and spliced. The Office of the Ombudsman suspended Mawa Plasca for 6 months as they conduct their investigation on the incident. During their plenary session on Wednesday, Senator Risa Ontiveros lamented the Senate's quote-unquote return to normalcy following the incident, which prompted this response from Senator Pia Cayetano.
Wala ho akong sinisisi. Pero nung pagkatapos ng lahat, pagtingin ko ng group natin, yung dating majority group, walang ni isa sa inyong nangamusta sa amin.
This has been debunked with a screenshot of the senators' group chat with Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Juan Miguel Zubiri, and Bam Aquino among those who checked it after the shootout. When we return, why was Senator Bato de la Rosa at the Senate in the first place? What made him come out from hiding? That's coming up next on The Storyline.
饭专属于我的甜蜜组合吗？这是为我特调的新鲜美味哦！
丽美心动冰沙，现做就是新鲜，
快 7-Eleven 和我一起享用吧！
有你 open， 生活有我 open。ルート設定完了，戦艦降下します。迅速に接近中。モンスターです。
汚染度が高すぎます。
ダメ。
ファーストは死んだ。早く彼らの緊急機関を。
これは想定外ですね。
私神の漆黒の中に刻まれる罪。準備です。さてやろう。
今日はここ。
知りなさい。カオスゼロナイトメイ。すべてのカオスをゼロに。
Mula sa ginadgad na coconut, gumawa ng masarap na crackers na may lasa ng coconut. Mag-Kamyon Coconut Crackers. Pwede itong kainin kahit saan at kailanman. Kamyon Coconut Crackers. Feel the sweetness of coconut.
Ako po ang bilang Vice President, CEO at correspondent sa network na ito. Dahil sa sobrang pagod ko sa trabaho na ito, ang solution ko, GT Cola Grape Flavor.
Meron itong iron, taurine at vitamin C. Tumutulong para mag-relax at lumakas ang iyong resistensya.
Isang inom mo lang, refreshing na. Dahil dito, makakapag-relax ang buhay ko. Kaya subukan nyo na ito inumin. 20 pesos lang SRP.
I'm late. What? No ships available? Wait! Surprised? Welcome to Ava Cruises, a voyage across the oceans with affordable fares and a relaxing escape through the seas of Avalancha. Safe, secure, and enjoyable. Ava Cruises, explore the seas.
Pagkagising sa umagang mangon at kumain ng sapat, gatas ang kailangan para lumusog ang katawan, pero may solusyon dyan. Ito ang MSI Gatas.
Ada Moreller po, mag-MSA Gatas para iinumin ang gatas. Sarap. Mag-MSA Gatas na. 69 na piso SRP sa suking tindahan.
The use of milk supplements must only be upon the advice of a health professional.
Hi guys! Init na init ng panahon. Mapapagod pa pagkatapos maglaro ng basketball. Iniisip niya ano-anong dapat na inumin ito. Eto na lang, uminom ng Sinsis Lime, ang soda drink na may lasa ng lime para ma-refresh ang iyong lalamunan at ang iyong katawan. Fresh, diba? Sinsis Lime, nakaka-fresh talaga to.
Wanna enhance your beauty?
Every face tells a story, but sometimes we forget to listen. Because beauty isn't just how you look, it's how you feel when you show up as yourself. Enhance your beauty with Roseanne Beauty.
Sinsis Cola, now in new look. Same taste, but still refresh your day. Sinsis Cola, refresh your life.
As a multi-talent, kailangan gawa ko buong araw. Hanggang sa bahay, sobrang napapagod na ako. Pero buti na lang, meron pa rin ang sarap noodle mi goreng. Ang chewy ng noodle, nilagyan rin ng seasoning oil at fried onions para mas masarap. Sarap? Sarap noodle mi goreng, pasayahin ang araw mo.
Kahit saan, sisig ng ina mo, lunod ka sa saya, mula sa pampagana hanggang sa dulo.
Ang sisig na hinahanap-hanap mo ay nasa sisig ng ina mo na. For just 70 pesos, may legit na kapampangan na sisig ka na with soft drinks and sabaw. Dito lang yan sa sisig ng ina mo.
Canyon Choco Biscuit. With extra chocolate and extra creamer in one biscuit, will give a delicious chocolate taste. You'll want to try it again.
Canyon Choco Biscuit. Feel the Choco vibes. Häagen-Dazs. そのグリーンは上質の抹茶を惜しみなく。いざ解禁、いざグリーンティー、クリスピーサンドザ・グリーンティー抹茶。
Pagkagising sa umagang mangon at kumain ng sapat, gatas ang kailangan para lumusog ang katawan, pero may solusyon dyan. Ito ang MSI Gatas.
Ada Moreller po, mag-MSA Gatas para iinumin ang gatas. Sarap. Mag-MSA Gatas na. 69 na piso SRP sa suking tindahan.
The use of milk supplements must only be upon the advice of a health professional.
히딩 1메뉴만 하자며 밥 생각 없다며 맞네. 그럼 마무리할까? 든든한 식사 후 가볍게 톡 털자. 마실수록 가벼워지는 티젠 콤부차로 가볍게 한 번, 가볍게 두 번. Let's drink twice. 티젠 콤부차.
Kalokohan at tawanan.
Salamat sa isang viewer natin sa Fanmade Archive. Eh, okay, so yan.
I-prepare ko na siguro yung live ba yan satellite. Ano?
Minsan na komentaryo.
Ito lang masasabi ko. Please, huwag ka nang mag-spam dahil labag yan sa TOS ng Discord.
Salita ng Mansanas.
Paano manood ng GSCA TV? Pindutin ang power button sa inyong remote. Pindutin ang menu at piliin ang channel list. Hanapin ang GSCA TV gamit ang up and down buttons. Pag nahanap na, press OK and enjoy watching.
Night and day, we got you. Sa base, punta ka na sa base. I give you up, and we're gonna love you. The Asians Dinner Club.
Gusto mo ba na mabasa ang iyong confession? Isend mo na ang iyong storya sa confessions@ltg.network o pumunta sa ltg.network/confessions. Via text o document man yan, walang problema. Kahit iba pangalan mo, mas mahaba, mas maganda. Paalala lang na sana ang inyong totoong kwento ang gusto naming ma-feature sa ating palabas. Kaya tutok na sa ito ang Confessions. Kada Biyernes, 7:45 PM. Simulcast sa Cool FM, Cool TV at sa lahat ng mga social media channels ng Cool FM at Laro Tayo Gaming.
Welcome back to the storyline. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa made his first public appearance in the Senate since November last year. The senator has also been officially named in an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court as a co-perpetrator in the three charges of crimes against humanity. His former boss, Rodrigo Duterte, has been in ICC custody since last year and will continue so until the next year. But why appear when you got a warrant against you? Let's break down how this happened. By Saturday, May 9, reports have surfaced of the ICC's arrest warrant going public mere minutes before we went on air. The long arm of the law may soon catch up with Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, as multiple news organizations have reported that a warrant of arrest has been issued against de la Rosa, who served as chief of the Philippine National Police at the height of the Duterte administration's drug war. This warrant was issued back in November, around the time when de la Rosa began to skip Senate sessions for 6 months. The warrant names him as a co-perpetrator in the crimes against humanity case of former President Rodrigo Duterte. De la Rosa was Duterte's first chief of the Philippine National Police, where he became the main implementer of the bloody drug war. He officially retired from the police in 2018 after passing mandatory retirement age. After a short stint at the Bureau of Corrections, he ran for a Senate seat in 2019, finishing 5th to get inside the upper chamber as one of Duterte's staunchest allies. His return to the halls last week was a spectacle. First, he came hiding in eventual Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano's car. His sister and fellow Senator Pia initially claimed the car de la Rosa hitched on was hers. At the same time, agents from the National Bureau of Investigation, accompanied by former Senator Antonio Trillanes, chased the senator through the fire exit, where he fell upon the stairs and left him with bruised fingers. Then he cast the deciding vote to elect Alan Peter Cayetano into the Senate presidency. 13-9-2. Cayetano replaced the ousted Vicente Soto III in his ascendance to the Senate leadership. In addition, the Senate replaced its sergeant-at-arms with Mau Aplasca, a retired police general who was De La Rosa's classmate in the Philippine Military Academy. This prompted the lockdown of the Senate building and a caucus whether to hold the NBI agents or make them leave the premises. Then they placed De La Rosa under the Senate's protective custody, which the palace says cannot be executed when the crime committed has a penalty of more than 6 years. The NBI agents were then cited in contempt by the Senate. The warrant Trilliana showed to reporters turned out to be a real one issued by the International Criminal Court. The ICC later unsealed that warrant, which was issued November 6, 2025 by the Pre-Trial Chamber 1. The next day, De La Rosa made the rounds to appeal to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and rally his supporters to protest De La Rosa's extradition to the International Criminal Court. A meeting was held at the office of the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, attended by GSIS security personnel and the Senate security detail from the Philippine National Police, Bureau of Fire Protection, and Armed Forces of the Philippines to discuss security coordination. Senators forming the minority bloc urged De La Rosa to surrender to authorities out of respect for judicial and prosecutorial processes. Later that night, De La Rosa sought the Supreme Court's help to block the warrant through a temporary restraining order, while his supporters gathered outside the Senate premises. On Wednesday morning, De La Rosa made the rounds once more to appeal to supporters, this time with the singing of the Philippine Military Academy's hymn. He was a graduate of the Sinagtala class of 1986. Later in the afternoon, De La Rosa says in his Facebook Live that he got word that agents from the NBI and CIDG will arrest him as soon as the Senate adjourns for the day. 6 minutes past 7 in the evening, Diosaa says the Senate will lock down once more and asks media to leave the premises. The media wonders why and whether the pending arrest warrant from the ICC will be executed. There was no response aside from someone will be arrested. No word on who. Few minutes later, De La Rosa takes the ground floor elevator, which the journalists notice and immediately follow. However, once the elevator opened, there was no sign of De La Rosa. By the time the gunshots were heard at 7:45 p.m., there was still no sign of De La Rosa. When Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla rushes to the Senate premises a few minutes shy of 8:30, he says he was there to secure De La Rosa, not arrest him. By 11:13 in the evening, De La Rosa's lawyer Jimmy Bondoc says his client is still inside the Senate building. However, the senator left with fellow lawmaker Robin Hood Padilla in the wee hours of Thursday morning. OSA head Mau Aplasca claims his staff could not keep De La Rosa from leaving the Senate protective custody. After a week of turmoil, the Supreme Court has rejected De La Rosa's petition for a temporary restraining order against his ICC warrant. This means authorities are now free to arrest him and send him packing to the Netherlands, where he will be tried alongside his former boss Rodrigo Duterte for crimes against humanity. As of this broadcast, the NBI has also declared De La Rosa as armed and dangerous, advising its personnel to proceed with caution and follow protocols for fugitive capture. Up next on the storyline. Last week's chaos sparked conversations about the dangers of journalists in the front lines. But what makes this one different from the usual war zones that cause distress among media personnel? Our panel will discuss that when the storyline returns.
VKO 들어보셨나요? V라인을 위해 내가 바꾼 건 딱 하나. Twice a day 미아르.
어떤 거 볼까? 눈물 펑펑 쏟는 거. 아니야, 도파민 팍팍 터지는 거. 그냥 우리 각자 보자. 취향 타는 순간엔 가볍게 톡 털자. 취향대로 마시는 16가지 콤부차로. 상큼하게 한 번, 건강하게 2번.
Introducing Innova Star 14. Ultra HD display for lifelike viewing. 48 megapixel triple lens camera for lifelike photos, and high performance Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 processor for high demand gaming. Personalize however you want. Innova Star 14. For gaming, for pictures, for anything.
Ako po ang bilang Vice President, CEO at correspondent sa network na ito. Dahil sa sobrang pagod ko sa trabaho na ito, ang solution ko, GT Cola Great Flavor.
Meron itong iron, taurine at vitamin C. Tumutulong para mag-relax at lumakas ang iyong resistensya.
Isang inom mo lang, refreshing na. Dahil dito, makakapag-buhay ko. Kaya subukan nyo na ito inumin. 20 pesos lang SRP.
Häagen-Dazs. そのグリーンは上質な抹茶を惜しみなく。いざ解禁。いざグリーンティー。クリスピーサンドザ・グリーンティー抹茶。 나만 힘들어? 죽을 것 같아. 지금 몇 세트지? 한 세트? 좀만 쉴까? 그럴까? 한 세트 끝내고 가볍게 톡 털자. 기분 좋게 상쾌한 바르탄산으로. 시원하게 한 번, 건강하게 2번.
Hi guys! Init ng panahon. Mapapagod pa pagkatapos maglaro ng basketball. Iniisip niya ano-anong dapat na inumin ito. Eto na lang, uminom ng Sinsis Lime, ang soda drink na may lasa ng lime para ma-refresh ang iyong lalamunan at ang iyong katawan. Fresh, diba? Sinsis Lime, nakaka-fresh talaga to.
Pechu! 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 Pechu!
I'm late. What? No ships available? Wait!
Surprised? Welcome to Ava Cruises, a voyage across the oceans with affordable fares and a relaxing escape through the seas of Avalanchia. Safe, secure, enjoyable. Ava Cruises, explore the seas.
美味，我只瞄准这颗星。7-Eleven 星级飨宴，和我一起特制的星级美味，意大利面又香又辣，好过瘾哦！哇，一个是我最爱的台韩味。这不只是甜品，更是精品，最极致的美味就在星级飨宴。 在 7-Eleven 和我一起享用吧。
有你 open， 生活有我 open。
내가 시원하게 말해줄게. 입자마자 차워서 더위 순삭. 몸에 붙지 않으니까 시원한 바람이 왔다 갔다. 시원해서 소름. 시원해서 시원서커 K2.
Mira drinking water. Fresh, cool, calm.
As a multi-talent, kailangan kong gawin ang ginagawa ko buong araw. Hanggang sa bahay, sobrang napapagod na ako. Pero buti na lang, meron pa rin ang sarap noodle mi goreng. Ang chewy ng noodle, nilagyan rin ng seasoning oil at fried onions para mas masarap. Sarap? Sarap noodle mi goreng, pasayahin ang araw mo.
What a lovely day. Hills, forests, the freedom.
I know. Awful, isn't it?
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Such is the life of an adventurer. Hey, Hilda?
Exactly.
What's up guys? Welcome to my Beanieverse and it's
8 members, isang game master, 7 ang maglalaban-laban.
cutie, 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 cutie. It's cutie.
Get ready sa unscripted chaos ng Beanie sa TV.
Hey. Thank you so much guys.
But that's it. Thank you so much, Beanie Joanna. Back to you.
Beanie versus Sabado 2:30 p.m. sa SBC at mapapanood sa Player.
Tandaan mo, kahit anong mangyari, hindi tayo magkakahiwalay.
Mahal na mahal kita.
People like loyal. Yan si Cholo.
Jody!
Sobrang ideal, kaya maraming nakakagusto sa kanya. Pero isa lang ang tinitibok ng puso sa kanya.
Sorry, hindi ako yun.
K-Drama's OG best boyfriend ever is back! Stairway to Heaven. Monday to Friday, 11:30 a.m. sa Chit TV.
애장품을 찾아 어디든 간다. 여기 건물주님. 아이, 뭐 슈퍼스타신데요. 얼마나 좋은 애장품을 가지고 오셨는지. 고가인 물품이 있을 수도 있으니까. 아, 이거 좀 감이 나가는데? 깜짝 놀랐어요. 아, 잠시만요.
네?
정연이가 한다. 프로그램입니다. 자, 2번째 프로그램이고요.
진짜 열심히 살았네.
Enjoy ang saya ng musika at excitement mula sa Clark Global City, Pampanga. Aurora Music Festival. Simula sa 2 linggong gabi, dito lang sa TNP.
Welcome back to the storyline. The Senate chaos locked journalists from the Senate beat inside its halls. Regardless of network affiliation, they rallied up together to console one another amidst the gunfire caused by a non-existent threat. This incident has scarred them not because they were used to this kind of coverage, but the fact that it happened within one of the most secure places in the country. On this week's Writer's Notes, how dangerous can journalism be, especially when you're in the line of fire? Back with us right now is press on standby Guien, Garma, and Gab Villegas, as well as NewsRadio's resident psychometrician Gerard Dimaano, the latter two joining us for the first time here on the program. Thank you so much for gracing us once again, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mido, for inviting me, and also a pleasant day to all your viewers and listeners.
Okay, I want to go to actually Sir Guien first kasi hindi naman lahat ng mga journalists na nandun sa Senate have had their fair share of covering war zones. So basically war journalism. So ano yung pinagkaiba nung mga nakaraang linggo? Ano yung mga pinagkaiba nung events of May 11 and 13 for journalists that were in the Senate beat?
Well, siguro Mido, una sa lahat, no, kailangan din nating i-preface yung konteksto ng political reporting na we don't really expect na magkaroon ng barilan o pisikalan sa August halls, no, of the Senate and of the House of Representatives. Kumbaga wala sa wala sa hinagap natin sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas na magkakaroon ng pisikalan sa legislative chamber, let alone magkaroon ng barilan. Kasi mas sanay tayo, no, mas sanay ang political journalist sa kumbaga bakbakan ng isipan, di ba? Battle of the minds, because we're talking about, and they're covering statesmen and stateswomen, no? Kaya talagang mayayanig ka kung kahit saang beat ka pa, and even if you're not covering the Senate right now, no? Kahit sinong journalist mayayanig talaga over the fact that shots have been fired in the Senate. And lalo ngayon na na-uncover na, no, yung kung ano yung inside story dito sa nangyaring barilan sa Senado with the Sergeant at Arms firing the first shot, and mas marami pa, no, yung bala na galing sa mga tauhan ng OSAA as compared to the people of the National Bureau of Investigation in terms of palitan ng putok. And as na-unfold, no, itong inside story na to, all the more na kahit saang beat ka pa, whether or not you're in the Senate beat, basta for as long as you are in the field of journalism, mayayanig ka talaga na, saglit lang. Para saan pa na nagkaroon ng barilan sa Senado in the first place? Kasi syempre, una, it's unprecedented. We do not expect such tension, no, to unfold in the Senate. Walang ganung president sa kasaysayan natin. And since this is the August halls of the Senate, so to speak, yun yung isa sa mga lugar na you least expect a gunfight, no? And now na nag-unfold na nga yung kwento sa likod ng naging gunfight, all the more that journalists really have to ask, no, para saan itong nangyaring gunfight, because hindi lang yung dignidad ng Senado yung at stake dito. Sa tunay na buhay, yung buhay ng mga mamamahayag, yung buhay ng mga staff ng Senado, nalagay din sa bingit at nalagay din sa panganib. What for? Para saan? Yung bang naging barilan, may saysay ba o wala? Yung iba nga, may di ba? May mga nagsasabi na rin na, pumapalya na yung script ng majority. Di ba? May ganun pang mga hinuha at mga haka-haka. So, in terms of ano ba ang difference ng usual na coverage sa political journalism, particularly in the Senate, and with what happened, no, after the power play in the Senate, and itong nagkaroon nga ng barilan sa Senado, malaking malaki yung talon from, trying to cover battle of the brains and the battle of wits of statesmen and women into an actual battle that no one has ever expected in the history of Philippine politics.
And I want to quickly follow that up with Kuya Gab kasi I know you were there covering the chaos outside the Senate. So ano yung difference from the outside perspective ng mga journalists na nandun? Ano yung nakikita nyo that time when you were covering the peak of the tension at the Senate?
Ito, Midori, dinawin lang natin ha. Nung mangyari ang gulo sa Senate, nakauwi na ako ng bahay niyan. Pero naka-monitor ako on what's happening in the Senate. Special thanks do sa mga kasamahan natin na Facebook Live. Hindi lang siya hindi lang tensionado do sa loob, pati rin do sa labas as well. Andun yung mga supporters ni Senator Bato, andun yung mga Duterte supporters na andun din na nananawagan din na wag sanang arestuhin si Bato, ganyan. Pero, yung tensions din sa labas ng Senado, yun nga, meron pa ako naririnig, may mga nababasa pa ako na nagkakahulihan between NBI agents and between the law enforcement agencies and itong mga tauhan ng OSAA. So, may ganun ako nababasa pero unverified yung mga ganong klaseng istorya. Hindi mo ma-imagine na ganon yung nangyayari. It was, yun nga, kagaya nga sinabi ni Prof. Guien kanina, na wala sa hinagap ng mga nag-cover sa Senate na may ganitong klaseng mangyayari. Kung siguro, malayo-malayo to sa malayo-malayo to doon sa mga nangyaring hulihan wherein nahuli na dati sina Senator Revilla, Senator Jingo Estrada, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile. In the recent years, it was Senator Antonio Trillanes and Senator Laila de Lima who were arrested inside the Senate premises during the time of President Rodrigo Duterte. Hindi naman ganito kagulo yung pag-aresto ng mga law enforcement natin sa kanila. Talagang medyo kakaiba lang itong kay Senator Bato wherein ayun na nagkaroon na ng palitan ng putok, nagkaroon na ng shootout wherein ang nagpaputok pala si Aplaska ng Senate OSAA. So hindi mo ma-imagine talaga na may ganitong mangyayari. Ayan.
So alam na natin yung mga kaganapan doon sa Senate at the time were caused by Mau Aplaska staging that incident inside the Senate halls. So Sir Guien, I want to go to you. How dangerous does it become para sa ating mga journalists na nandun lang to really just cover what was happening? This is not their usual rodeo. This is actually their usual rodeo. So what, like when the stakes become intense, anong pagkakaiba nun from like their usual coverage sa loob ng Senado?
I think madadama mo yung pagiging tensionado ng mga pangyayari with the live annotations coming from the reporters who have been covering it live. Madadama mo na this is not their ordinary walk in the park, so to speak. Kasi again, kahit sino naman matinong tao, hindi aasahan na magkakaroon ng barilin in the Senate. So, you can feel it. You can feel the tension, no? With how the journalists who are there live, kung paano nila inannotate yung mga pangyayari. Ang pinakatumatak sa akin na examples, no, ay una, si Mean Los Baños ng News 5 kasi nung gabing yon sa frontline ako nakatutok primarily, and frontline din kasi yung parang hindi na sila nag-commercial break at that time, dire-diretso si Mean nasa Senate, and doon na natin narinig no yung unang mga putok ng barel, and you can hear no na parang you can hear the struggle of annotating what's happening despite the fact na alam mong nasa panganib yung buhay mo kasi nagkakaroon ng barilan, and you'll never know saan nakatutok yung mga barel, and since kulob ang Senado, posible pang mag-ricochet yung mga bala. So it really can be tense, no? Narinig natin yan sa annotation ni Mean, narinig din natin sa report ni na Victoria Tulad, Zian Ambrosio on TV Patrol, na and at that time si Zian talaga who was at an undisclosed location at that time, pero later on nalaman na natin na she was with the operatives of the NBI. Yung annotation niya, alam mong ito ay isang hindi inaasahang pangyayari. Wala sang hinagap na they would be on at the receiving end, so to speak, no, ng gunfire. And talagang madadama mo doon sa mga nag-live na kakaiba yung tension. This is not the ordinary tension of power play that you would hear or that you would cover at the Senate. Ito ay tension of brute force, so to speak, na sa tunay na buhay, hindi siya dapat maranasan ng mga journalists in the Senate because that's supposed to be one of the most secure buildings in the land as the Senate of the Philippines, no? May I also remember sa yun na rin ko ding ibang coverages, no, from DZBB tsaka sa BNC, no, yung reporters nila Sining Farabelo for B, Hanati for BNC. Dama mo din na medyo may konting panic din, no? Kasi, again, mga bala na yun Pwedeng kumitil lang buhay ang mga bala na yan. And no Senate journalist or no political journalist ever deserves na malagay ang buhay sa panganib just for power play, di ba? Para lang for the sake of so-called protecting a Senate colleague. I hope that given what's unfolding, no, yung mga kwento ngayon na na-unfold patungkol dito sa nangyari sa Senado, I hope ma-realize ng mga nasa kapangyarihan na na bukod sa kanilang pagkapit sa kapangyarihang meron sila, I hope they also realize kung ano yung inilagay nila sa bingit at kung sino-sino yung inilagay nila sa panganib just for the sake of, retaining power or so-called protecting one of their own. Hindi deserve ng mga kasamahan natin sa Senado at walang sino mang journalist ang deserve na ma-feel yung ganoong tension, especially given the context na they are political journalists.
And I want to go to the very next question for Kuya Gab. Kasi merong sinabi ang National Union of Journalists in the Philippines na yung kanilang mga peer counselors are ready to support yung mga reporters that were trapped at inside the Senate noong kasagsagan ng barilan doon. May nakita na ba tayo na kahit sino, whether they're the reporter, the producer, the crew, or cameraman na nandun sa Senado na yun, have we seen anybody from that beat or even from the GSIS POV? Nakapag-avail na ba sila ng privilege na yun from NUJP? Have we seen anybody?
Ito Mido, as part of NUJP ay pag ganito may mga klaseng mga pangyayari, laging nakahanda ang NUJP to support our colleagues na nangangailangan ng psychological support, especially for those who are covering this kind of coverage ng mga kaguluhan, giyera, or any situation na which itong nangyari sa Senate hindi natin inasahan. So naka-monitor yung NUJP Safety Office, pero as part of as far as NUJP is concerned, Pinoy Weekly, the Pinoy Weekly chapter of NUJP undergo a stress debriefing session. Actually, Mido, hindi lamang trabaho ng NUJP ang magbigay ng psychological support. It's primarily trabaho ito ng mga newsrooms natin to support yung pangangailangan nitong mga kasamahan natin. It's part of their responsibility na pangalagaan yung safety at well-being ng mga journalists na nasa kanila. As far as I remember, based do sa mga Facebook posts ng mga kasamahan natin na nasa Senate, their own newsrooms had nagkaroon din sila ng sarili nilang stress debriefing sessions para makalagpas dito sa kanilang sinapit nung time na nag-cover sila sa Senate noong May 13, wherein nangyari yung shootout na yun. And for those who have who still in need of psychological support, lagi namang nakahanda rin ang NUJP na umalalay doon sa mga kasamahan natin na nangangailangan nito. Para doon sa ating mga kasamahan na nagdanais na humingi ng tulong sa NUJP to have a stress debriefing session, kung hindi kayang ibigay ng mga newsrooms nila ito, ay mangyaring tumawag sila or mag-text sa numero 0960-278-4263 or di kaya ay mag-email sila sa NUJP Secretariat at proton.me. Ayan. Yan po yung mga contact details na maaaring tawagan ng mga kasamahan natin. Or pwede rin na kung halimbawa hindi pa sila member ng NUJP, they can message someone who is a member of the new union para madaling makalapit, makahingi ng tulong to have a psychological support. Ayan.
That's very insightful. I want to go to Ademan now kasi nakikita natin yung mga journalists na yung mga journalists are often at risk kasi dinodocument nila yung mga pangyayari doon sa kanilang lugar. Pero hindi natin nakikita yung implications of what covering these circumstances does to them. So bilang May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? May force ba na basically hinders our journalists from getting the help na very obviously they need, especially those from the Senate that were obviously very distressed during the time na nagkakaroon ng putukan doon sa loob?
Okay, so there's multiple factors to see to this, Mido. Thank you for that question. Because I really want to highlight yung mga binanggit ni Sir Guien and Kuya Gab regarding the situation at the Senate. Because firsthand, I also watched the live stream of the journalists who were there at the Senate building, the interior rather. I think that was the second floor, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. When those shots were fired, which I didn't expect to happen, none of us would expect that to happen. It was supposed to be it was supposed to be an arrest rather on Senator Bato de la Rosa as requested by the ICC because of his crimes against humanity. But we did not expect that he would actually make it difficult, he would make it difficult for the authorities to catch him. But we all know that it was plotted, it was staged, of course, unfortunately. Pero no, considering the circumstances of the journalists there, that would be risky for them psychologically. Why? Hearing those gunshots aren't even a joke. Even our well-respected veterans, for example, I want to cite World War II veterans. Our soldiers that have fought in wars, have fought in gunfights, most of them, they have high risk of developing, or if not developing, but rather manifesting symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. That is classified as a mental condition that causes a person to remember a specific event that happened on that very day, and it triggers a stress response in their brain. I want to highlight the psychological perspective there. The reason why that it's completely normal for journalists that time to experience frustration, to experience panic, to experience emotions, heightened emotions. That is brought by the amygdala, which is what we call the fear organ in the brain, responsible for our fight and flight response. When that triggers, the journalists there, they cry, they often feel a sense of adrenaline, like it's life or death for them. And we have to consider those circumstances, because even if let's say si Sergeant at Arms, si Sister Mau Aplasca, fired at the Senate glass at point blank, even though no one was there, as according to the CCTV cameras. That's a CCTV footage mo. Cannot down bullet of the sa mismong Senate building, because any form of psychological trauma, any form of sound can cause psychological distress to those involved in that scene. And it doesn't not only put life at risk, it also can cause long-term complications for the mental health of the journalists who were there. So to answer your question regarding your if there is a force hindering the journalists from stating their from seeking help, rather, the duty of those authorities are to protect the journalists of whatever possible circumstance that may happen. Unforeseen circumstance. We never expected the gun shots to happen in the first place. And at the same time, the priority of the authorities that time are to protect the journalists, especially that I want to note, they were mostly unarmed. They didn't have any of those bulletproof vests, which puts their life at risk. So I'm not saying this as just a psychological implication. This can also be a legal implication as well, because they have endangered the lives of the journalists. So that is what I will emphasize, Mido. So
I want to go to Sir Guien really quick, kasi I feel like you have some kind of a perspective regarding this. Meron bang parang kind of a hidden force or a stigma that basically hinders these journalists from actually getting psychological intervention?
Actually, base sa experience ko din as a journalist, and actually napagkwentuhan din namin ito with a former student of mine who is also a journalist now for another platform, madalas ang talagang kalaban din ng mga mamamahayag in getting the psychological or psychosocial help that they need, especially pagkatapos ng mga ganitong coverage, is the news cycle itself. Kasi parang saan ka pahahanap ng panahon at saan ka pahahanap ng oras na makapagpahinga, to slow down, and to get the help that you need if the next day kailangan mo na namang umarangkada at maghanap ng storya, no? Yun yung yun yung isa sa mga napagtanto ko din na major na, I won't say kalaban, but rather a hindrance, no? When it comes to seeking professional or psychological help for journalists. Although, syempre, maganda nga na na-discuss din ni Gab na handa naman talaga ang NUJP to assist journalists in need of psychological or psychosocial help. And nakita din namin yon dito sa chapter namin sa NUJP Laguna after the events that transpired on September 21 last year, if you remember, no, yung mga nagkaroon ng sakitan sa mga ilang mga naging rally back in September 21 last year, no? So in all fairness, ready naman ang NUJP nga to assist, but yun nga individually sa level din ng mga mamamahay, kung minsan yung news cycle talaga yung yung magiging yung makakabangga mo dyan, kasi kung kailangan mo mag-grind ulit to search for and to dig for your next story, medyo mahihirapan ka din talagang makahanap ng oras at ng panahon para makapag-debrief. Kaya maganda nga din yung nakwento kanina ni Gab na sa Pinoy Weekly Chapter, buti nakapagsagawa sila ng debriefing despite the busy news cycle that we have. So yon, sa aking pananaw, mas ang kalaban mo talaga, saan ka makakahanap ng oras tsaka ng panahon to wind down and to debrief. And I think that's something that the newsroom management people should also work on, lalo na para sa mga mamamahayag na deeply affected by what has transpired in the past few days and weeks.
Okay, for our last question, I want to go to Anima first. Kasi merong kasabihan sa journalism na no story is worth dying for. So, mas mabigat ba ang risk more than the reward in journalism? Lalo na pag nakasalalay na yung buhay ng isang mamamahayag.
Okay, so that is a good question because first we cannot underestimate the efforts of the journalists there who were deployed on that situation dun sa Senate mismo. And secondly, we want to think that, we have to think that the journalists were there for a reason. They were just doing their jobs. Isa pa yun. They were just doing their roles in how do you call this? In sharing legitimate information for us viewers rather. And considering the circumstances there, because we all know that that is definitely a highly risky situation, especially that it put their life at risk. When they do their roles, it is worth the risk. But at the same time, it is important to note that their safety and security should definitely be prioritized by the authorities, not just the authorities, but the company themselves, because the company that they work for can be held legally liable, rather for endangering the lives of their employees. We have to look at this in a labor code perspective, and also at the same time in a psychological perspective. Yan yung kailangan natin pag-isipan. At the same time, while we do salute the journalists for their hard work in sharing the information, we do want to note that the journalists at the same time they have to be protected, prioritized rather. They have to be prioritized and protected by their companies, and at the same time the authorities who were there at the scene, because the failure to protect them means endangering their lives, and that can cause legal repercussions. So that is what I want to clarify with your question, Mito. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, wala naman kasi on the side of the companies that these journalists work for, yung pinaka repercussion kumbaga nung mga nangyari sa Senado. Meron bang meron bang parang weight yung fact na wala naman silang masyadong ginawa other than they did their jobs? Anyone can answer. And again, the question is, sabihin na natin walang liability yung mga journalists natin or even the companies that they work for, kasi they were just basically doing their jobs. They just deployed their journalists. Pero hindi naman ibig sabihin that they put these journalists' lives at risk because they just happened to deploy them at a time na hindi naman, they were not expecting that kind of tension to escalate at such heights inside the Senate. So, may bigat ba yun in terms of really weighing yung pinaka magiging outcome or possible possibilities of what was going to happen inside the chamber itself?
Okay, Mita, I would like to answer this because good clarification rather. I want to clarify that what I said was mainly generalized, but in the case of dun sa mismong situation dun sa Senate, in this case, yes, we can definitely recognize that the journalists were doing their job there, and at the same time, they were deployed there at the Senate for a reason, to cover yung case ni Senator Bato de la Rosa regarding the ICC. What was not expected were the gunshots coming from the government of authorities themselves, with Mawa Plaska actually firing the shots down, as seen at the CCTV footage. Therefore, the authorities there, especially there at the Senate, they can be held criminally liable for endangering the lives of the journalists, since the journalists were deployed just doing their jobs, but at the same time considering those unforeseen circumstances, like I said before. Also the psychological trauma, we have to add that they have the right to file a case, even their company as well, against the very people that endangered their lives at that venue, rather at that place where Bato de la Rosa was supposedly going to be arrested dun sa mismong Senado. So while we cannot downplay the events that happened there at the Senate, we should also take into consideration the safety of the journalists that are doing their jobs, even if it puts their life at risk. So that is what I want to answer. That's what I want to answer with clarity, Mido. Hopefully that answers your question.
So balik tayo. Sir Guien, I want to ask you again. Meron mas mabigat ba ang risk kesa sa reward in terms of journalism when their lives are at stake?
Well, ang isa din sa mga pinaniniwalaan ng marami ding journalists, no, ay when you are in a profession like journalism, yung isang paa mo is on the ground and the other is already 6 feet underground. May ano talaga, no? May risks talaga ang pamamahayag, especially in a country like ours na hindi naman maganda ang performance sa World Press Freedom Index at marami tayong kinakaharap na mga banta, not just in terms of legalese, no? Yung mga sinasampang kasong libelo, no, and even cyber libel, which is being weaponized, no, against journalists, but also yung actual na banta sa buhay ng ating mga mamamahayag. So there will in our profession, there will always be risks. Meron at meron talagang mga pagkakataon na hindi naman sa nakasalalay ang buhay mo, no, pero yung may mga pagkakataon talaga na sa profession na to, meron ka talagang mga meron talagang matatamaan sa mga storya mo, merong mga tao who would feel uncomfortable with your stories, no? Yun yung usual na risks na alam natin that we're taking on as journalists, and alam naman natin na kung alam naman natin ang katotohanan, we can stand our ground, di ba? Sa mga ganitong pagkakataon. Ito yung risks na these are the risks that we know in our profession, di ba? Pero yung halimbawa yung risk na madamay ka sa barilan sa isang lugar na dapat ay isa sa mga pinakaligtas na lugar sa buong bansa, yun yung talagang yun yung napaka sukdulan na, so to speak, na napaka unnecessary siya na risk, no? It's a very unnecessary risk na that the journalists covering the Senate did not bring upon themselves, no? Hindi naman sila yung naglapit sa mga sarili nila sa bingit. It's the OSA, it's the people in power at the Senate who brought this kind of risk to our journalists in the Senate. And maganda yung point ni Anima kanina na kung gugustuhin ng mga naapektuhan na magsampa ng kaso, why not, 'di ba? But at the same time, naniniwala din ako na ang bawi din sa mga may pakana nitong napaka-unnecessary na kaguluhan sa Senado, hindi lang sa legalist sila pwedeng bawian. Pwede din silang bawian ng taong bayan sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga boto sa darating na halalan. Yan din ang isang paraan for the electorate and for everyone in the democracy to say, yung ginawa ninyo nakaguluhan sa Senado, sukdulan na yon para sa amin as members of the electorate at pagbabayaran nyo yan pagdating ng halalan. That's one powerful way ng paniningil, no, ng taong bayan sa mga may pakana ng kaguluhang ito, especially if the electorate would realize na dapat isa din sa mga binibigyang prioridad natin sa ating bansa bilang isang demokrasya is the safety of the members of the so-called Fourth Estate.
So one final thing, I want to go to Kuya Gab for this. Does the events of last week reiterate yung reason ba, yung fire of being in the profession as risky as journalism?
Yes, actually, kasama sa trabaho yon, as mentioned by Prof. Guien kanina, na once you enter this profession, yung kalahati ng katawan mo ay nakalubog na sa ilalim ng lupa. At any time, you may die because of your profession. May mga bagay na posibleng mangyari while you're doing your job. Especially kung halimbawa na ikaw ay nagko-cover sa isang coverage na may kaguluhan, especially Kera, we do not expect that, ayan, kagaya din yan na may ganyang drama sa Senate. once, ito rin dapat yung maisip ng mga nagnanais na pumasok sa profession natin ito, na hindi mali yung expectations ng mga tao na once you enter the industry, malaki na kagad yung sweldo na nakukuha mo. That's not true. Hindi siya totoo. Marami sa mga kasamahan natin ang mababa ang sweldo. May ilan pa nga na ang sweldo ay nasa 15,000, which is right now, papasok na siya sa level ng minimum wage. And of course, hindi deserve ng mga kasamahan natin na habang ginagampanan ang tungkuling ito, nalalagay naman sa alanganin yung buhay nila habang ginagawa ang trabahong ito. Though sabihin natin na nag-i-improve yung estado ng Pilipinas pagdating sa World Press Freedom Index, nananatili pa rin na dangerous na lugar ang Pilipinas para pagtrabahuan ng mga journalists. Sana nga ito na lang yung take ko dyan, Mido. May nangamusta kaya sa mga kasamahan natin mula do sa mga nasa kapangyarihan after this kind of drama happened netong May 13. Tingin ko nga wala Ewan natin. Pero mas during those moments, ito pa yung napapansin ko mas naunang mga musta yung mga kasamahan natin na wala sa Senate. Nawala doon sa lugar kung saan nangyayaring coverage. Mas nangangamusta pa yung mga newsrooms kung kumusta sila doon. And of course, nagpapaalala sila na sana ingatan muna yung sarili nila kaysa habulin yung storya. Sana nga naisip din ng mga nasa kapangyarihan na after mangyari ang mga pangyayaring ito, naisip nila na kumustahin yung mga nag-cover nung panahon na yon. That's my take, Nido.
And that was Guien, Garma, Gab Villegas, and Gerard Dimaano on our panel today. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Maraming salamat, Mido, at magandang hapon sa lahat ng ating mga taga-subaybay.
Magandang hapon din, Mido. Maraming salamat.
If our journalists want to seek help from the National Union of Journalists in the Philippines, you may contact them via the details flashed on your screens. Once again, I cannot read that. You can email the secretariat at nujp.org, or you can call them on these numbers: 632-376-7330, 632-376-7330, and 0917-515-5991. And that was the storyline this week. I'm Midori Tachibana. Join us at 4:15 p.m. every other Saturdays for the latest storylines. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.